Hello there, it's Burn-A-Briar and I'm halfway through a bowl of Special Latakia Flake by Germain's, which I gave you my first impressions of this blend in my last video, and I'm very much enjoying it. It's a really nice blend. But today I thought I'd make a video in response to Redcoat Returns' 1000 subscriber contest. He's doing a giveaway and he asked us to respond with a video response talking about our favourite celebrity pipe smoker. And that's quite difficult because you've got, well, so many famous people over the years have smoked pipes. From those who are well known to have smoked pipes all the way to perhaps people who are a little less known for smoking a pipe. I don't know how many of you knew, but actress Andie MacDowell, who's probably famous here in England for having starred in 4 Weddings and a Funeral, she is a pipe smoker, but she will not be my favourite celebrity pipe smoker that I'm going to talk about today. I fear I have probably chosen one that will have been picked by many, and I apologise to Redcoat's Return for being perhaps a little obvious. I would like to talk briefly about R R Tolkien, the famous 20th century author who's best known for writing The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, but also the author of many other notable works such as The Silmarillion. The Fall of Gondolin, and the list goes on. I have chosen to talk about Tolkien because not only was he an accomplished writer, but also an accomplished pipe smoker. He smoked most of his life and was so keen on the pipe that he incorporated it into his work. And for those of you who are familiar with his writing, or indeed even the film adaptations of his work, The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings, which were done by Peter Jackson, pipe smoking features, and that is due to Tolkien's love of the pipe. So I thought, for my video response, I'd read a short part of Tolkien's writing, which features at the beginning of his most famous work, The Lord of the Rings. In the prologue, section 2, he names Concerning Pipeweed, and here he discusses the hobbits, a race of people, humanoid people of small stature, who live in his fantasy world that he created, Middle-earth. And I'd like to talk about, well, I'd just like to read what he wrote. Because it's one thing being a celebrity who happens to smoke a pipe, and so many are, but it's another thing to enjoy tobacco and pipe smoking to the extent that you bring it into your work. So here goes. There is another astonishing thing about hobbits of old that must be mentioned, an astonishing habit. They imbibed or inhaled through pipes of clay or wood the smoke of burning leaves of a herb which they called pipeweed or leaf, a variety probably of nicotiana. A great deal of mystery surrounds the origin of this particular custom or art, as the hobbits prefer to call it. All that could be discovered about it in antiquity was put together by Meriadoc Brandybuck, a later master of Buckland. And since he and tobacco of the South Farthing play a part in the history that follows, his remarks in the introduction to this herb law of the Shire may be quoted. This, he says, is the one art that we can certainly claim to be our own invention. When hobbits first began to smoke is not known. All the legends and family histories take it for granted. For ages, folk in the Shire smoked various herbs, some fouler and some sweeter, but all accounts agree that Tobold Hornblower of Longbottom in the South Farthing first grew the true pipeweed in his gardens in the days of Isengrim II, about the year 1070 of Shire reckoning. The best home-grown still comes from that district, especially the varieties now known as Longbottom Leaf, Old Toby, and Southern Star. How Old Toby came by the plant is not recorded, for to his dying day he would not tell. He knew much about herbs, but he was no traveller. It is said that in his youth he often went to Bree, though he certainly never went further from the Shire than that. It is thus quite possible that he learned of this plant in Bree, where now, at any rate, it grows well on the south slopes of the hill. The Bree hobbits claim to have been the first actual smokers of pipeweed. They claim, of course, to have done everything before the people of the Shire, whom they refer to as colonists. But in this case, their claim is, I think, likely to be true. And certainly it was from Bree that the art of smoking the genuine weed spread in recent centuries among dwarfs and other such folk, rangers, wizards, or wanderers, as still pass to and fro through the ancient road meeting. The home and centre of the art is thus to be found in the old inn of Bree, the Prancing Pony, that has been kept by the family of Butterbur from time beyond record. All the same, observations that I have made on my own many journeys south have convinced me that the weed itself is not native to our parts of the world, but came northward from the lower Anduin, whither it was, I suspect, originally brought oversea by men of Western Ace. It grows abundantly in Gondor, and there is richer and larger than in the north, where it is never found wild, and flourishes only in warm, sheltered places like Longbottom. The men of Gondor call it sweet gallinus, and esteem it only for the fragrance of its flowers. From that land it must have been carried up the Greenway during the long centuries between the coming of Elendil and our own days. But even the Dunedain of Gondor allow us this credit. Hobbits first put it into pipes. Not even the wizards first thought of that, before we did, though one wizard that I knew took up the art long ago, and became skilful in it, as all other things that he put his mind to. There. That's Tolkien's world building. The prologue is essentially sets the scene for his story, The Lord of the Rings, and so is full of what is now called world building in fantasy writing. That an entire section of his prologue would be devoted to pipe smoking says a lot about Tolkien as a writer, and I don't think it's personally the case for me, but I imagine many of my generation who have taken up the pipe have been in some way influenced, perhaps even inspired by Tolkien's writings or the films that were made based on his writings. Tolkien describes it, well, no, Brandybuck, Tolkien's character, describes pipe smoking as an art. And I think many of us in the YTPC consider it, if not an art, a hobby, but I expect many of us do consider it an art of sorts. We don't do it for our hit, do we? It's not... it is in no way akin to cigarette smoking, where you are seeking a fix. It is a time-consuming and thought-provoking activity. And I think Tolkien's description of hobbits later in his story, well, throughout his writing, hobbits appear to be creatures of comfort who welcome the opportunity to sit back, smoke a pipe, and reflect. And in these busy days today that we live in, that is exactly what I, and many of us I imagine, use our pipes for. So, congratulations to Redcoat's return. 1,000 subscribers is it's a lot, and I can entirely see why you've managed to accrue such a following. I think your channel's fantastic. I'm sorry to hear about the little hacking you've had recently, but very glad to hear that you sorted all of that out. And yes, congratulations. You're much loved amongst the community. And this is my video response to you. My favourite pipe smoking celebrity is R R Tolkien, author and pipe smoker. So, until I next make a video, thank you very much for watching, and best regards to you all. Cheers.